Still going live. Oh, this is still live. Still going live. And it's still saying going live. Give me a few seconds, I guess, right? I need to make sure that it's live. Okay, I'm live, I think. Hi, my name is Valentinus Biri. I'll just give you a few short tidbits that you might not be aware of. Now that if you're looking into publishing your books, your memoirs, biographies, art books, and art catalogs, which is what I call hashtag valzubiriagenda, some of the pointers that I'm suggesting for everyone to do. So, self-publishing is also called print on demand. Okay, they print books as they are ordered. So if one gets ordered, one gets printed and then sent out to the recipient, the customer. I guess the major companies that are doing live print on demand right now or self-publishing would be lulu.com, lulu.com, and Amazon, which I think they named it like KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. And way back in the 90s, they were called, oh no, not 90s, around 2006 when I started looking into this, Amazon had the Book Vault, and they changed the name to Create Space, and then now it's called KDP. So they're easing it into the use of the Kindle. Okay. Now, you might have an idea that just because ebooks are cheaper than actual printed books, they would be easier to make. No, they're not. With ebooks, they use there's a difference, right? When you buy a Kindle and you buy an e-reader, one of them uses .mobi, and then the other one uses .epub, something like that. So they're competing. They're not compatible with each other. So that means you have to come up with your two versions of your books. One would be an EPUB, and the other one would be .mobi. And so that's a consideration, right? And something else too. Some might prefer a PDF file, and a lot of books are in PDF file right now because they're more universal, and EPUB readers and EPUB and .mobi readers can both read PDF files. So when you're making PDF files, that's actually what's needed for print files. So print files, an actual printed book would require two PDF files, which is obviously the same, we'll use the same program, right? One PDF file for the cover, and then one PDF file for the interior. Okay. Usually the covers are for color, which means they're going to use cyan, magenta, yellow, and black for making your cover. And for the inside, if you write a memoir or a biography, and you've decided to like just use black and white, then they'll just use a black and white PDF file. On the other hand, if you're going to make a colored art book or art catalog, both the interior and the exterior will need colored PDF files. So that's good information to know. What I do for my friends when I make their biographies or their memoirs, that as artists, and they would have art, what do you call that? They would have art and or photographs of themselves in their books, I would suggest to them that we still use a black and white format for the inside. So their art images would be grayed. Okay, so colored books are more expensive right now than regular black and white interior books. Obviously, the reason being that they use colored ink for colored books. What else can I tell you? Okay, I was at the convention for publishers, right? Every year I used to attend the publishers convention. It used to be ABA, American Booksellers Association, and then they changed it to Book Expo America. And right now it's named Book Expo America. If you go on YouTube, you'll see people sharing videos of their excitement, being at Book Expo America. If there's anything you should learn from it, or if there's anything I learned from it that you should probably be aware of, I would see celebrities there, but not all authors are celebrities in the facial recognition way, right? A lot of authors, you kind of recognize their names, and sometimes you don't, and their books still sell. Okay? Now with what I call the hashtag valzubiriagenda, the reason for our books is to sell our art, and we should be thankful, okay? Because a lot of unknown or regular writers get a cash advance for their books, right? And some of them receive as little as $5,000 as a cash advance, and that's balanced out from the future sale of their books. So hopefully they get more income from their books, but sometimes books don't sell. Okay. On the other hand, we as artists, we write as many books as we want, right? And the reason is to sell our art. And one of our art pieces sometimes would sell for $5,000, right? And because of our books, hopefully we're going to be selling like 10 art pieces at $5,000 each. Compare that with a cash advance for a regular author of $5,000. We're so much better where we're at, okay, as artists who write books. Now, the ebooks and EPUBs and the Mobi books, they actually, when I would make them for my clients, I would use Sigil and then something else, and then Calibre or Caliber and Dreamweaver, because these books, and obviously Photoshop, right? It's a given that Photoshop would be used for printed books. So. But when you write different versions of your book and convert them to an ebook, it's like making encapsulated versions, HTML, web page versions of your book, something like that. So it's a little more complicated. You need to get the hang of it, and every once in a while you have to check, because sometimes your book would look good on an iPhone. It's not going to look good on a larger iPad. It might look good on a PC. It might not look good on Mac. And it might look good on a cell phone, Android cell phone, but it's not going to look good on a bigger format e-reader, something like that. And then you have to check it with the e-readers, like the Kindle and the e-readers, the e-readers that are not Kindles. Okay, so all these need to be considered, right? So your purpose of making those ebooks is to make sure that the readers can understand what you're making, right? So you have to test them on a lot of different platforms. And that's why it's more difficult to make an ebook as compared to making a printed file, a printed book. What else can I tell you? The reason I discourage ebooks is because when you do a show and tell, for example, let's say you came up with your book, right, and you invited people to check out your book so they can buy your art. Having them share just one single e-reader doesn't make sense. You're better off having 10 copies of your book, and just in case they want to buy your art and your books, they should be available. See, so that's why I encourage you to have printed books as opposed to e-readers or e-books. Something else too. If you go to, let's say, just imagine this, let's say all this takes off, right? And so a cafe would invite investors, art collectors, people who can help publish, and artists, because they're representing you, right? Your art. So you bring all your books, right? And other artists bring their books as well, right? And maybe even some investors and art collectors would also bring their books. Now, you're better off in a group of maybe, let's say, 50 people, right? Most of them you don't know, right? Why would you bring a file of your ebook so you can and they're just bringing one e-reader when you can bring 10 copies of your books each, right? So your books can be sold, they can be stolen, but if somebody steals your laptop, for example, or your e-reader, or somebody drops your phone, that's not good. See? So you're better off getting your memoirs, art books, biographies, and art catalogs printed. Okay. What else can I tell you? That's basically it. Yeah, don't worry about becoming famous. Okay, we just need our names recognized. Okay, because becoming famous isn't healthy. Read books on becoming famous, and they'll tell you, it's not healthy. And they have so many stories. Okay, so don't worry about that. Just worry about the recognition of your art and your name. That's it. Nobody needs to bump into you in the street and say, "Hey, you're that guy or you're that girl." It doesn't make sense. Okay, don't aspire to do that. Aspire to sell your work and be as productive as you can. And that's it. So good luck. And if there's anything about writing memoirs that you should know, they can be depressing. Okay, the best stories are usually the most poignant and most traumatic stories in your life. Okay. Now, my tip on writing memoirs is, for now, always have chapters. Each chapter you might entertain telling them not just about yourself. People like to read about themselves. See? So what you need to show would be the lesson. What lesson can be learned from you? Okay. And I like to have each chapter to have at least one lesson that people can learn from me. Okay. So that's a tip I can give you. So don't just say you were born somewhere and these are your thoughts. There has to be a lesson to be learned. Okay. And you can go back and forth between being happy and being sad. It's kind of hypnotic for people to read that when you go back and forth. Happy, sad, optimistic, pessimistic, optimistic, pessimistic. And what else can I tell you right now? Read other people's works. Okay. And if you're thinking you're going to have a huge volume of a memoir, know that 50,000 words to 70,000 words would be enough for a book. Okay? And there's a way to cheat. That's a way to cheat. If you're an artist, then distribute your works in the book, and use grayscale if you want to save money, and if you want the readers to save money. And if it's still a memoir, then you can cheat by adding pictures of your work and maybe of your youth, your past, follow what people would expect. Okay, when regards to the formatting of your book. So there's something that's called front matter, which is the front part of the book, and then back matter, back part. Now, the front matter would have a preface, acknowledgement about the author, or maybe about the author can be the back. Introduction by somebody else, introduction by yourself. I already said preface. You can have a table of contents of your chapters and other parts of all the parts of your book. You can have a section that says other books by this author, or other books by, related books by your cafe, for example. The back matter would have about the author, how to contact the author, and other things that you might want to put in there, like an appendix maybe, or a glossary, or an index. Your front matter obviously has the table of contents, the copyright page. So what people would expect from a regular book, you must have. Because if you miss something, like for example your title page or a copyright page, it doesn't look professional. Okay. Now with editing, I've edited some other people's works, and for example there's this one author who was using like the same word over and over and over, and I did a word count, and she did use that word many times over. So I finally said, hey, you know what, you probably should use different words for this, because people read, and they'll read the same word over and over, and that doesn't look good for you. When I write, I initially write on text documents. So I make a folder in my PC or my laptop, and I'll have a series of text documents, right? So I'll just copy and paste like blank text documents, and then title them my tentative chapters, right? And ideas, so you don't arrange the chapters yet, because it can evolve, right? But if you have ideas for chapters, your stories, you can title those blank text documents, and then work on them, right? So don't worry about spelling, don't worry about punctuation. If the quotation mark has to be before or after comma, if you need to use a foreign language or foreign word, if you need to italicize that, don't worry about these things. You just need to just type through and go from one chapter to the end of the chapter, and then move to the next chapter. And then if you have to go back to the previous chapter, don't do that until later. Okay? Just make notes of what you probably should do. Okay. Now, I have other tips, and I would end this at this point. And if you have any questions, let me see. Here's my information. You can friend me on Facebook, and then use Messenger if you want to ask me questions. Now, we're using our books to sell art. Okay, so our books can be artistic statements themselves, right? I'm just warning you, don't say you have a memoir and you copy and paste a foreign version of, I don't know, like The Old Man in the Sea. So don't do that. Okay, don't get copyright free text and from a different language, and tell them that that's your memoir, because you'll get found out anyway. But then again, you can say that that's your artistic statement. That's possible too, So it's up to you. I don't care. I just think it's funny, right? I wouldn't do it myself. Okay. What else? I think that's what I can tell you for now. And subscribe. And if you have any questions, friend me on Facebook, and then ask me on Messenger. Okay. See you later. As soon as I get off there.